Hey, Campfire Colorado subscribers. I'm Matt Connelly here with Kristi Burton Brown, the chairwoman of the Colorado Republican Party. We are outside of state party headquarters here in Greenwood Village, Colorado. Kristi, thank you so much for joining me, sitting down with us for an insider's look at what is happening in Colorado politics right now. We're going to go through some of the top races in the state, hear what's happening from the state party's perspective, maybe get some predictions, although I feel like I know what your predictions are going to be on a lot of these, and just kind of hear what's going on behind the scenes. So let's just start off by telling me, what is the ground game looking like here in Colorado? How is the party working right now to make sure that candidates up and down the ticket are successful in November?
Yeah, the ground game, Matt, is awesome right now. We have volunteers, grassroots people all across the state knocking doors, making phone calls, sending text messages, writing postcards for our candidates. Kind of a combination of how you used to campaign and then a combination of how you do it in the modern world. So a lot of targeted digital ads going out on our side for our candidates as well, hit hundreds of thousands of doors. And what I think is great about it is not just Republican doors, it's unaffiliated doors, it's Democrat doors. We're bringing the message everywhere to people all across Colorado.
Yeah, it seems like this year, I've been out in Colorado for multiple election cycles. It seems like the door knocking this year has really been an aggressive effort. I don't know if it's just because I'm seeing more of it or what it is, but every Saturday we have folks out there knocking doors. I was just down, or I was up in Thornton with Barb Kirkmeyer and her campaign. They're about to go out and knock some doors. Have you been getting good feedback from door knockers across the state?
We really have, and I've gone out and knocked doors myself. I'm going to continue to do that in key targeted districts until Election Day. So yeah, both what I've personally heard at the doors and then what our door knockers tell us. People want to have conversations. They're interested in voting differently this year. And then also we often ask, hey, what's the most important issue to you in this election? And so many people say it's inflation, cost of living. We also hear crime. We hear a lot of parents concerned about the kids' education. And as you know, Matt, those are key issues in the Republican commitment to Colorado. And that's what voters are talking to us about at the door when we just ask what their opinion is. Yeah.
You bring up commitment to Colorado. We just had the chance here to sit down with leader Kevin McCarthy, who just rolled out the Commitment to America. Does it make you feel good? I mean, you know, was it a year ago? You went over to a gas station in downtown Denver. You unveiled the Commitment to Colorado, very strong on the issues, very strong on the message. The liberal media here in Colorado went after you for putting this down on paper, for focusing on these issues. Here we are a year later. In my opinion, you've been vindicated. The national Republicans are rolling out a similar plan. What do you have to say about that circus that kind of surrounded that absurd, effort by the media here in Colorado?
Yeah, I think it's very typical of when the media thinks that one party, namely the Democrats, control a state, they're more likely to just ignore anything that would push back on that narrative. So I think when we released the Commitment to Colorado and had real solutions, it illustrated Republicans as problem solvers with ideas focused on the future. They wanted instead to talk about the optics of having a press conference at a gas station when air quality in Denver was bad. And I mean, who's in charge of Colorado? Who's in charge of air quality? I mean, that would be the Democrats. And then certainly with gas prices rising and now going back and rising again, it proved the point of why we held it outside a gas station.
Oh, absolutely. So let's hop into some of these key races here in Colorado and get an insider's perspective of what's happening so that our Campfire subscribers can really be tuned in to the pulse of politics here in Colorado. Let's start with the U.S. Senate race. Joe O'Dea, he's going up against Senator Michael Bennet. Senator Michael Bennet's been in D.C. forever. How does that race shaping up? What's the party doing to support Joe, and what do you think is going to happen there?
Well, I think Joe has some very hard-hitting ads about to go up on TV. He's been on TV for a while now. I do think there's national money starting to come in for Joe O'Dea. Michael Bennet clearly is a do-nothing senator, passed one bill in his entire time in the Senate. And Joe's been a successful businessman, the kind of person that Coloradans identify with, that they want to elect. And really, I think it's going to come down to Election Day, what happens in these next 30 days. And can people really see Joe O'Dea for who he is, a successful businessman who wants to turn around the Senate and not be a D.C. insider, or do they want more of the same with Michael Bennet? I think that'd be a terrible choice for Colorado. So we need Joe O'Dea in the Senate.
We do. Let's move on to the governor's race. Heidi Ganahl running against Jared Polis. A lot of excitement all across the state for Heidi. I see it at all of these events. When I was driving from Barb's office in Thornton down here to Greenwood Village, I saw 2 Heidi signs on the back of trucks on the way down here. So she is everywhere. What does that race look like to you? How's the party involved there, and what's happening?
Yeah, we We love Heidi. She's doing a great job getting it all across the state, talking to people. I mean, anywhere from outside of Broncos games to at local businesses to other community events where people gather and want to talk about the real issues affecting their kids, their families, their businesses. Heidi had her first debate with Jared Polis at the Pueblo Chamber of Commerce. One of the best political debates I have ever seen in my life.
Him.
Oh yeah, completely caught him off guard. And I think talked about his real record. And that's what she is demanding, that Jared Polis run on his record, not his rhetoric, not his pretense that he's trying to save Coloradans money and make Colorado safer. He's been the governor for the last 3 years and has failed on every single front. I think Heidi makes a great case for that. And she's getting out, our teams are knocking on doors, talking to people about the real solutions Heidi would offer when Jared Polis has failed on them.
I think one of the best points that Heidi has been making in the campaign is that Jared Polis is running for governor to undo all the things that Jared Polis has done in the last 4 years here.
Yeah.
But he never seems to be held accountable for that by the media. When you look at two instances, one that was, I think, the best and the most comical was when he was at the Avalanche victory parade for the Stanley Cup, and he steps up to the microphone there, and he is instantaneously booed by the crowd for being governor and doing a horrible job. What do you think is responsible for that disconnect, where the media kind of protects this guy, but the people, once they see him, they boo him?
Oh, sure. And this happened in Denver at the Avalanche Parade, and then at the State Fair in Pueblo. I mean, it's happened all over to Jared Polis when just average working families get together and they get to express what they think about what he's done. You know, I think the mainstream media maybe believes what a lot of people believe, that Jared Polis can just buy his way out of everything. As Heidi Ganahl says, this is an election, not an auction, but Jared Polis treats it like it's an auction, like he can buy votes. So I don't know, maybe the media is discouraged, maybe they don't want to push back on him, but I don't think there's an excuse for not demanding that he live by his record, not his election year rhetoric.
I agree. Let's move on to the Attorney General's race here in Colorado. A very exciting race, exciting candidate with John Kellner. Just the issue set in that race. I mean, one that you're certainly familiar with is that Colorado leads the nation in auto thefts, not a statistic you want to lead the nation in. How is that race shaping up from the party's perspective?
Oh, very good. I think it's one of the key races to watch. The Democrats agree with that. Everyone knows that John Kellner is absolutely within striking distance of Phil Weiser. Phil Weiser's, worried about this race. He's a professor from Boulder, where we have John Kellner, who's a successful district attorney who's solved numerous cold cases here in Colorado. He knows how to combat crime. He knows how to put drug dealers behind bars so they're not in front of our schools trying to sell fentanyl to our kids. And I think that is why that race is one of the key ones this year. Not only are we number one in auto thefts, we're number one in bank robberies, we're number one in cocaine use, number two in increase in fentanyl overdose deaths here in Colorado. And the average family is seeing that hit home with drugs being sold at their children's schools, with auto thefts in their neighborhoods, which they believed were safe neighborhoods. That's why they live there. But they're no longer proving to be safe with Democrats in charge. So John Kellner, such a better option than Phil Weiser, and I think the average family in Colorado is recognizing that. Yeah,
and I think you see John Kellner, he's out there experiencing these issues firsthand with his work as a district attorney. I was at a press conference with him and the DEA a few months back, where they were talking about drug busts in the state and just the crime that has resulted from drug activity in this state.
Very tied to drugs.
Cartel activity, Mexican drug cartels that are operating here in Colorado. It's all scary stuff, and a lot of it comes from the drug trade in Colorado, and a lot of that is due to the policies that these Democrats have passed decriminalizing fentanyl. I don't know what they thought the results of that were going to be, but then here we are in an election year where people like Phil Weiser, Democrats up and down the ticket, are trying to pretend that they aren't responsible for that. What do you think about that fentanyl law and Democrats' role in this kind of whole crime wave in Colorado?
Well, it's the policies they advocated for. Phil Weiser either stood by and was missing in action, or actively advocated for many of these soft on crime policies that now have created more drug-related crimes, more crime in general. Colorado's the third worst state in the nation for a rate of total crime, violent crime and property crime. While the nation is dropping in so many crime measures, Colorado's rising. You can see that in a Common Sense Institute study that just came out with crime in Colorado. So yeah, I mean, their policies created this. There's data and research showing that. They don't want to acknowledge it because that makes them look bad in an election year. But there's no question that we need someone who's strong in the Attorney General's office. And John Kellner has said that if he's elected, he will sue the Biden administration over their failure to secure the southern border, which is what's allowing all these drugs to flow into Colorado and hurt our kids.
It's such a failure of leadership on so many different levels. Hopping over to the treasurer's race here, Lang Sias running for treasurer against Dave Young. Exciting race, exciting candidate with Lang. We actually just posted a story on Campfire Colorado from the Club 20 debate out in Grand Junction, where Lang was cross-examining Dave Young and got him to admit that no Coloradans would have their Tabor refund check, the $750 check, if it were up to Dave Young and the policies he's supported in the past. Dave Young himself admitted that somehow in the debate. So Lang did a great job on that. What does the race look like from your perspective, and how's the party helping out in that race for Lang?
Yeah, Lang's race, the treasurer's race, another one of the top races in Colorado right now that I know the Democrats are worried about losing. Not only is Dave Young actually a very bad fundraiser on the Democrat side, so there's not a lot of money supporting him, whereas Lang's been able to do a good job in that regard. We also see inflation, economy, cost of living be the number one issue for voters across the state, for undecided voters in particular. And so when that's the issue, we also see at least 20% more voters trust Republicans to solve economic issues, to fix inflation and cost of living and make Colorado more affordable again. So Lang's running on those issues. He's a former Top Gun pilot, a military guy who knows how to get things done. So I think he's the kind of person people can trust. They see him and they see someone who can solve our economic problems. And, you know, treasurer doesn't have the power to solve it all. Obviously, a lot of that does rest with the governor. But we see the treasurer as a person who can speak to those issues, who can defend Tabor, who can use the bully pulpit to make sure our economics here in Colorado are much more solid than Democrat leadership, you know, caused it to crash in so many ways.
The Secretary of State's race, we have a great candidate, Pam Anderson, on the ballot for Republicans, running against just one of the most partisan Democrats ever, Jenna Griswold, the current Secretary of State. She spent millions of dollars in taxpayer money promoting herself on ads, on television. She has just sent out, a story broke yesterday from Colorado Public Radio, that she sent out postcards to 30,000 non-citizens of the country, urging them to register to vote, which they cannot. So all sorts of problems with that as well. What's your take on that race? Pam, actually right now too, is gracing the cover of Time magazine, praising her for just being a very competent professional when it comes to elections. What's your take on the Secretary of State's race?
Yeah, Matt, I think that's one of the biggest contrasts, is that Pam Anderson is an experienced professional who would be a fair referee. She would bring integrity to our elections. She knows how to make them accountable, make them transparent, all the things people are looking for when they worry about an election system and wonder if it's really working for them. Pam has the answer. She created better signature verification processes as the clerk in Jefferson County. She's done a lot of these solid things that people are looking for to make our elections trusted again. And Jenna, on the other hand, weaponized her office. You let Planned Parenthood write her press releases. To your point, not only did she send voter registration cards to 30,000 non-citizens this year, she did that in 2022. So one of the most incompetent partisan hacks in that office Colorado's ever seen. So definitely need Pam Anderson there.
It is truly stunning. Pam is a great candidate. Look forward to her being the next Secretary of State of Colorado. Kristi Burton Brown, Chairwoman of the Colorado Republican Party, thank you so much for joining us and giving us an insider's look at what's happening in state politics here in Colorado as campaign season is quickly coming to an end. Ballots are going out here soon. Thank you so much. Thank you all for tuning in. If you have not yet signed up for our morning newsletter, Campfire Coffee, make sure you check that out. What are you waiting for, people? Go check it out, sign up, help support Campfire Colorado, and get interviews like this first before anyone else gets to see them. Thank you so much for tuning in.